Ladies and gentlemen, what a match. There's only one winner, but there were two champions that emerged from this match, in my humble opinion. The quarterfinal in the World Championships, 2022 World Championships, was an epic, epic match. If you haven't watched it, check out the highlights at Squash TV's YouTube channel. And if you have a subscription to Squash TV's service, which I would highly recommend, watch the entire match. It is insane. In my opinion, this is one of the most epic matches in a very, very long time, and most likely for a very, very long time. This match lasted just over 2 hours at the ferocious pace and intensity and attacking nature that these men played at. It had everything. There was fair play. There was a crazy mental toughness from both of them. Epic fight back from Tarek Momen after losing the first two games in just about an hour. It took 2 games, lasted 1 hour. I'm going to put this in context for you in a minute, but just think about that for a minute and let your mind be blown. There were some controversial refereeing decisions. We'll talk about that a little bit. There was the crazy epic crowd that was cheering on Tarek Momen, obviously with the tournament taking place in Egypt, and then there was obviously some disappointment from the crowd, just like a movie. Ups and downs, wild swings and turns, and all sorts of stuff happening for a crazy finish. It was slightly anticlimactic, but hey, sometimes that's just how the cookie crumbles. So let's jump into the match length implications. As you can see, the entire match lasted 123 minutes. That's 2 hours and 3 minutes for one match. And I wanted to put this in perspective for you. Looking at Tarek Momen's previous matches, the round 2 match versus Faraz Khan lasted 50 minutes. Round 3 match versus Joel Macon, who is a beast, as you obviously know, lasted 73 minutes. His round 2 and 3 matches put together, and neither of them were easy, it was the same duration as this one match with Paul Coll. Let's compare it to Mohamed El Shorbagy's route. If you put his entire tournament together, round 1, 2, 3, and the quarterfinal against Faris Dasuki yesterday, his total time on court is 132 minutes. That's 9 minutes more than the entire single match time between Paul Coll and Tarek Momen. I want to take a minute and make a quick note about tournaments in general. So, for many of us, if we haven't played a tournament before, there are various factors to consider. There is this luck of the draw factor. So sometimes players can get easier draws. It could be easier either because they're stronger than someone they're supposed to play, or maybe the other person is injured. For example, Ali Farag seemed to have a slightly easier route through Yusuf Ibrahim because it seemed like something was going on with Yusuf Ibrahim's body. Or Mohamed El Shorbagy, when he played Gawad retired due to an issue. So that is luck of the draw, because technically that could have been a much longer, harder, physically draining, mentally draining match. So tournaments are very different to just taking a player, 2 different players, and saying, okay, if this player played this person, what would happen? It's not like that, because you have to look at the history leading up to their match. You have to look at luck of the draw, like I said. You have to look at environmental factors. These guys and girls are playing outside, so there's wind and stuff like that, which most places in the world don't have outdoor courts where you have to deal with that sort of thing. There's the crowd, obviously. If you're Egyptian, there's this massive home crowd rooting for you in the World Championships. If you're not, then there's either silence or even arguably some hostility. So there are lots of factors to consider. Then there's the mental focus that each player brings into a tournament. So what can happen sometimes is if you're stronger than your opponent because of maybe you have more experience, years of training, etc., some people might go take it easy on their opponents. And what could be a clinical, quick 3-0 match sometimes gets dragged out to be longer, which then starts to take unnecessary physical and mental toll on the body and the mind. When you think about Mohamed Shorbagy, I shared his example earlier about the length of his matches. This was interesting because his first 2 matches could have been a little bit tougher, but he is very clinical and focused and wants to get on and off as quickly as possible. And against Gawad, there was the luck of the draw with, unfortunately for Gawad, but fortunately for Shorbagy, it again was a very quick match. And against Daisuke, winning 2 games, the second and third, 12-10, 12-10, that's a sign of focus as well, because it's not easy to close out such close games sequentially back to back like that. So again, credit to Mohamed Shorbagy for doing that. Now, different players have different routes through to the final. Different days, you have different energy and feeling. So it's obviously impossible to say who's going to win, but the more clinical you can be, the more focused you can be, the more luck you get, the higher your chances of getting through. So I really wanted to celebrate the mental strength displayed by both of these men last night. I'm recording this the day after the match took place. Game 1 was 28 minutes. Game 2, 33 minutes. Again, Game 1 and 2 are longer than Mohamed Shorbagy's first 2 matches each. In Game 3, Momen was down 10-8, so he's down 2 match balls over an hour into the match. It was around 75-80 minutes. He saves those 2 match balls and then goes on to close that game out 12-10. In the 4th, Coll breaks down physically and mentally. He's slower with his lunges. He's looking a little bit lethargic. He's hitting tons of tins, which are very uncharacteristic of him, especially with his game style. But somehow, in the 5th, Paul Coll digs so deep, and then Momen also digs deep. Paul Coll digs deep and goes up. He's 10-7 match ball. Momen saves 2 match balls, being 10-7 down 2 hours into a match. And then he finally lost it 11-9 after 123 minutes, 2 hours and 3 minutes. Absolute madness. I want to show you a couple of rallies, and I've left the audio in because I want you to hear the crowd when it comes to this, and obviously you will hear Joey and Lisa with their commentary. Thank you guys for putting on a fantastic show as well. So let's check this out. That was Momen's squeeze right there at the end. You see the crowd, you see the engagement, you hear them, and that was a squeeze, as you can see from the score. 12-10, closing out the third after being down 10-8. Now we're going to jump into the 5th. Momen's already saved 1 match ball, gets out of the way, prevents the stroke. Little hold, puts Coll under pressure. Coll forces the cross. Momen hits the feathery nick. Look at the touch. Just perfection from Momen at the end over there. Like, the courage, you could say even luck coming into that, where you're hitting so fine. It's the thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of practice all coming together. The mental toughness to be able to hold it together and not stiffen up and choke when trying to hit that drop shot, being down match ball. Just fantastic. And then obviously right at the end, if you watch the highlights, you'll know that there was a stroke decision given against Momen. This is where things got a little bit dicey with the refereeing decisions. And before we get into that, I just want to put this out there. You know, my first thought, and I will be totally honest, my first immediate instinctual thought was, oh, that's such BS. What the heck just happened? Momen got robbed. That was my instinctive thought. I will be honest. But then I took a step back, and I've been in the refereeing seat for PSA matches before, and it's not fun. In general, being a referee for a highly competitive match is not a fun job. It is a job where there is so much pressure on you, and there isn't much upside for you. So kudos to all of the referees that are out there doing their jobs. The other things I want to point out are, this match was over 2 hours long. There is tremendous mental fatigue that occurs when you have to be that focused from a referee's perspective for such an extended period of time. The referee did a great job throughout the match. At the end, maybe some fatigue, some loss of concentration, maybe some of that played in, because before the final stroke decision, there were a couple of other calls that went to video referee. And typically speaking, referees have a tendency, especially at crucial times like match ball, to go to the video referee unless it's obviously a very, very blatant stroke or no let call, for example. So in this case, I feel that maybe there was some mental fatigue, or there's perspective. that referee, she was there, she's experienced, and in her mind, based on everything she saw, she knew that it was a clear-cut stroke. Now, everyone has a different perspective, so maybe my perspective looks different to hers, and maybe seeing it live, it looks different on the video. We have the luxury on the video to be able to go back, rewind it, see it from multiple angles, process it, etc., etc. So the perspective was different, and if there was absolute certainty in her mind, then she's not going to have regret over that call. There might have also been this factor of pressure playing into her mind, because she had just used the video referee a couple of times, and maybe there was this piece going on that I am the match referee. I shouldn't need to use the video referee for every rally that's coming my way. Maybe there was a little bit of inner tension or conflict taking place over there. I don't know. These are just hypotheses. And then the last thing when it comes to refereeing, and well, anything in life, but in this situation, I know for a fact that all of these referees are going after the matches and having debriefs and discussions, and they're learning from everything they did so that they can all improve their craft. I wanted to share that for context because a lot of us are being a little bit, we're all vocalizing our thoughts and our opinions on social media, on Facebook, on Instagram, etc. I would like you to consider this first line that you see on the screen right now. And it's Albert Einstein's words, where he said, "The most important decision we make is whether we believe we live in a friendly or hostile universe." Your answer to this question sheds light on how you perceive the world. So if you perceive the world as a hostile place, then that's where everything is painted with a hostile brush. Everything is coming from a place of fear, of judgment, maybe anger, hate. That's one perspective that a lot of us in the world have, and I'm guilty of it too. I'm not trying to say that I'm beyond all this. Then the other aspect is, if we think we live in a friendly world, well, or a friendly universe, according to Einstein's, using his words, that paints a very different picture about how we will perceive and manage and act in less than favorable conditions. What I will encourage everyone watching this video to do is to, with love and respect, I say this, we're all human, we are all imperfect, we're all learning and growing, and if we can be kind, empathetic, and compassionate, our reactions and many actions in the world will not be quite as hostile as they currently are. I will also admit that I have my moments where I do act irrationally, or I do act without empathy and compassion at times. And I will be the first one to admit it, that this happens with family sometimes. I have a 3-year-old daughter, and I lose my patience sometimes. I don't do anything drastic, but I raise my voice. I might get frustrated. Those sorts of things happen to me just like everyone else. But if I can reorient myself and remind myself that this perspective of living in a friendly universe, these perspectives of empathy, compassion, and love, well then a moment later, I go and I apologize to my 3-year-old daughter. I give her a hug. I tell her how much I love her. And then I try to reorient myself towards a kinder, gentler approach. Because at the end of the day, in this example with my daughter, all she wants is love. And I have to remember that. No matter how busy my day has been, no matter how fatigued I am from training, no matter what's going on with me, she just wants love. And this perspective can be applied to any other facet of life. Obviously, the situations and circumstances are a little bit different. But if I can do it, I know you can do it, because I'm human just like you are. It just takes a little bit of practice. It takes a little bit of conscious effort. It takes awareness. It takes reflection. So I would highly, highly encourage you to reflect, and I'm saying this with love and with respect, that if you're coming out with, or if your tendency, your natural tendency is to think about racism against Tariq Momen, or take a religious aspect, or think it's some form of like conspiracy theory sort of narrative that, I would encourage you to reflect upon that inner narrative and try to see whether you are operating from a place of fear and what other deep conditioning has taken place to make you automatically, instinctively assume that racism is at play and there are many unjust things. Now, I'm not saying that there isn't racism in the world. I'm not saying that unjust things do not happen in the world. They absolutely do. But the way we approach a situation in our own minds will dictate our thoughts, our behaviors, our actions, and thus outcomes. And if we approach things from a place of love, compassion, kindness, caring, empathy, and that general line of thinking, we may be more collaboratively and solution oriented than we would otherwise. I'm going to leave this discussion at that. I hope it gives some food for thought. What I want to end this video with are some reflections based on what the guys said after the match. So the first sequence of images you see at the top over here is Tariq Momen's Instagram post. And I've highlighted some key components. Specifically, I want to call out that he said he's not going to talk about the refereeing decisions. He's going to talk about what he achieved and what he had control over. This is critical because control, focusing on what we can control, is the only way forward. Focusing on the uncontrollables, like the referee's decision in this case, all it's going to do is drain our mental energy and distract us. We cannot change the referee's decision. This is something I teach all of my corporate clients, all of my squash students. I would highly encourage you to reflect on what is within your control and focus your energy on that. In the same first sequence of images here, he says, "I'm glad we managed to leave it all out for everyone to enjoy." So really, really taking some pride in effort. And I've mentioned former UCLA basketball coach John Wooden's definition of success. And I'm paraphrasing. Success, according to Coach Wooden, is the peace of mind that is attained by knowing that you did the best that you are capable of. Tariq Momen is reflecting on that. Win or lose, he left it all out there, so that is something that he can be very proud of. And looking at the first line, today I can say I'm proud. Despite losing, of course there's going to be a sting from losing, but there is no regret because he did the best that he was capable of. He put maximum effort out there and he focused on what he could control and isn't dwelling and hating upon what he can't control. In the second sequence, he's reflecting upon the work that he's put in, and he's taking pride and confidence in the fact that he could back up physically against two of the most physical players in the world, being Joel Macon and Paul Cole. So again, shows the amount of effort that these guys have to put in consistently. He says he's obviously heartbroken about losing, but he really believed in his chances of winning. This goes back to the sense of belief and having a vision and having confidence in knowing that you're capable of doing what you're setting out to do. And he says, I think I managed to prove to myself that I'm in the mix and I can stay there for longer. And this again goes back to belief and raising your own self-confidence. Even though this is going to hurt, he's going to come back stronger because he has this confidence and this belief. And then he goes on to thank the crowd for love and support, and he talks about feeding off their energy. So again, having that support system, having positive energy around you, feeling love. His wife, Raneem, was there. Other folks supporting him, obviously outside of the crowd. So all really, really fantastic to see Tariq Momen write a message like this. And there are lots of nuggets for all of us to take from here. And Paul Cole's, this is only part of what he said, but this is epic. He says he does 2.5-hour practice sessions at home. And he's got a recovery day tomorrow, and I will get myself sorted out and come out firing for the semifinals. It's not ideal, but I'm going to bounce back for sure. So that again shows you the effort and intensity of his training to help him get to the level of fitness and consistency he's currently demonstrating, and it shows his belief and his confidence in all of the work that he's put in and the process by saying that he knows he's going to bounce back. I'm going to bounce back for sure. That's confidence. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this. Again, an epic match. Definitely watch it on Squash TV if you have not already done so. I hope you took a lot of valuable pointers out of here. I would love to hear some comments. I know this is a lot of controversial stuff that I'm talking about, so leave some comments. This is my opinion. It's not scripture. It's not. These aren't like fixed tenets. They're not axioms. They're not definitive. These are just my opinions. We're all open and entitled to share our opinion, so I would love to hear you share your opinion in the comment section. Please do so in a respectful manner, as you always do. And for that, I genuinely appreciate you. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and share the video with a family or friend if you think that they will also find it interesting and benefit in some way. Take care, and I look forward to seeing you in the next clip.